Hi everybody, hope you're doing marvelously well. It's been a fun week, but here it is, it's Friday, and we're ready for another Frequently Asked Questions Friday. So today's a double whammy because this week we put out a course with Jordan Valeriote from Hardcore Music. And we are going to have a second half of this video is going to be a tip from him on how to mix big rock guitars. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But I want to start off with, of course, a frequently asked question. So let's get stuck in there. Should one always denoise your audio recordings to make it sound professional? Is it worth it or that big of a difference? So, of course, that is a great question because 2 days ago, iZotope released the RX8 and we got to try it out. So if you haven't seen it yet, there will be a link to the video underneath. I've liked iZotope and we've been using various editions of iZotope over the years to denoise for precisely what you're talking about. However, this latest one, the RX8, is just like awesome. The thing I like about it most, it's the feature called Music Rebalance. And what is absolutely amazing is you can separate out the vocals, you can separate out the rhythm track, you can separate out the bass line, and then you can separate out the remaining parts like guitars and keys. So it's pretty awesome. For guys like me and possibly yourselves for doing covers, it's going to be amazing. It means that I'm going to be able to figure out the drum part, the bass line, the vocals. I'm going to be able to have an instrumental track without the vocals and practice singing on it. It's just superb. However, what it's also really good at is this new feature just added called the Guitar Denoiser, to answer your question. That is a really, really good question. For those of us that have heard or have access to classic multitracks, you'll notice that in a lot of these amazing songs that we grew up with and we consider to be the greatest recordings of all time, there's a schnizzle-ton of noise. You hear like guitar parts on Beatles records and Queen and Zeppelin and all of these amazing albums. And when they're not playing, it's like bzz, bzz, and then they play. And then a guitar chord fades out and you hear this crang, and as it decays, you hear I suppose you know where I'm going. Did that ever bother any of us? You know, it was faded on the console. Now, of course, in Pro Tools, you can fade it. The reality is like the denoising is amazing for certain things. Absolutely incredible, for instance, for this guitar part we tried on a couple of days ago, where as the part was being played, he was turned down so quiet that the noise floor on the amp was like, and the part was like really, really quiet with the guitar turned down. The amp was still cranking. And that denoiser worked absolutely miraculously. And I'm reminded, of course, and I talked about it in the video, of Shelley Yakus telling us about the lead guitar part on Romeo and Juliet, which is, of course, an incredible song by Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits. And on the end of it, he does this da-da-da, da-da-da. It is beautiful. And when I asked Shelley how he got this incredible guitar tone, he told us the chain that was being used and said there was a ton of gain, but Mark had turned down the guitar, so it was like super quiet, but it was this Marshall front-loaded with a transistor preamp, so it was just tons and tons of noise. And he was able to fix it, but it was like boosting mid-range EQ and taking out the top and taking out the bottom, taking out the hum, taking out the hiss, and just focusing on the fundamental. And he said it was a lot of work. He said it was a lot of work. Now, these tools like RX8 make it amazing. It's about balance. In that situation, RX8 would have completely saved the day and would have saved hours of work. You could argue that the guitar tone that Shelley got was unique through the things he had to do because he knew it was a magical performance. But ultimately, I'm sure if he had had the tools available back in the early 80s, he would have used them. I guarantee it. Shelley's a smart guy. He would have used the tool that would have solved the problem. Go back to these Zeppelin and these Beatles and these Queen and all these great bands that have noise in their soloed guitar parts. In the track, it wasn't that bad. In the track, they would fade it out. So when you ask about being professional, it's a really difficult discussion. If you're going to compress and put a part super up front, like really loud, really bright, and really up front, then you're probably going to want to denoise it, because if it's a natural guitar going through an amp, it's going to have the hum, the mains hum. It's going to have that hiss and all that stuff, especially when it's enhanced with schnizzle tons of compression and tons of boosted EQ. It's really, the answer of the question is in the question itself. It's like, is it noticeable? Is it something that affects how you hear it? Or is it just something that's in there and barely noticeable, or not noticeable at all, more importantly, when the track is playing? Noise is noise. If it's really, really bad, get rid of it. If it's a featured solo part, get rid of it. You're not really going to want it. If it's in the track, is it doing anything bad to have like 5 sets of guitars all smashing at once and one of them's a little bit noisy? If it's blended in lightly as support, are you noticing it? Probably not. I remember us doing a lot of mixing competitions, and all the mixing competitions we've done over the years, people will pull up and say, there's a noise in this track, and have a sort of superior attitude of, I can't believe that you recorded it. Somebody yesterday on the RX video said, why is there even noise on this guitar track? It was like, well, we chose a noisy guitar track to demonstrate how the plugin worked. If we hadn't chosen a noisy guitar track, you wouldn't know how the plugin worked. There's this sort of idea that everything has to be absolutely perfect. I can tell you I have mixed amazing sounding music recorded by some of the best engineers in the world, and even that has buzzes and clicks and ticks and pops and all kinds of stuff. All that matters is the end result. And if you have to use a tool and you're a mixer to clean something up before you mix it, that's okay. Do you really want to be that person telling the artist and the producer engineer of, oh, I'm superior to you, I had to get rid of some noise? I mean, it's part of our job now. It's part of the modern world to do the best we possibly can. And these incredible tools like Isotope's RX8 is really going to help that. So check out yesterday's video. There's a link down there. See what you think. And always do the best work you can. If there's unwanted noise in there you think is going to be featured and you're sending those tracks off to somebody else to master or mix, more importantly, clean it up. If it's not noticeable and it's buried in the track, that's okay. If it's featured, clean it up. So thanks ever so much for watching that first question. We're now going to shoot over to our good friend, Mr. Jordan Valeriote. And Jordan is talking about mixing heavy guitars, fat, warm sounding guitars. So check out this video and let us know what you think.
Hey again, it's Jordan Valeriote here, and I wanted to show you this cool mixing trick here that I came up with while mixing this song for the band Emery for really getting a bigger, fatter, heavier guitar tone when we needed it in the mix. So in this song, there's a whole outro section that kind of builds and builds, and I'll just play it for you here first. So that guitar riff there, the it just kind of repeats and repeats, but the song keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger towards the end. So as I was mixing this song and getting to this outro and kind of trying to make this sound bigger and bigger and bigger as it keeps repeating, I just found that the guitars were missing some beef, some fatness. And even though this is a really cool guitar tone, I think, I just thought, man, it needs to sound fatter and thicker in this outro here. So how are we going to solve this problem? First, I'm thinking, do we boost the EQ there? Do we try to crank up the saturation after the fact? And it kind of popped into my head, why don't we try to duplicate this guitar track and mix in a lower octave? So you can see this low guitar track here. So all I did was create a new stereo track, and then I just literally like dragged these two left and right rhythm guitars down onto this track. So it's an exact duplicate of these main rhythm guitars onto this low guitar track. Now, that sounds pretty crazy, right? I'll show you what I did. Just this plugin that I honestly haven't used that much, but it's called Little Altar Boy from Sound Toys. And all I did here is just put the pitch down, linking the formant here so it sounds nicer, putting the pitch down all the way 12 semitones down, so which is a whole octave. and then took this drive knob here and crank that up to just get it nice and crunchy. So listen to the transformation on this guitar tone. Pretty gnarly, but listen to how it fills out these rhythm guitars. Just did exactly what we needed to fill in and give more beef and meat to this ending guitar tone. And what's more is that I actually kind of automated this throughout the end section. So it kind of kicks in here. And the drums kind of get busier and busier here. And then it kind of goes into a really big, heavier final outro. And that's where I kick this up even more volume-wise. And I think that's just a great contrast because we go all the way from here. Then it kicks in with just mix kind of subtly underneath. But then by the time we get to this outro, like he's playing the same riff. So how are we going to make this stand out and sound even bigger? I think this does a great job of it. Listen to it without it in the mix. It doesn't sound bad, but that just makes it massive. And you can hear it's a little bit kind of grungy and almost muddy in the low end. And I didn't follow this up with any EQ or anything. I wanted this to be kind of just huge and fat and even a little bit messy. Like I didn't want to clean up any of the low end mud. That's like actually what I wanted to add to the main guitars. So you don't have to be so surgical clean all the time and get rid of every little bit of muddiness in your mix. Sometimes that's exactly what's going to make it sound bigger and more aggressive. So I hope you enjoyed this little mixing trick here. Just a little something to keep in mind, an extra tool in your toolbox if you come across something in your mixes where you just really need to fill out the bottom end and make your guitar or even your bass a lot fatter. Actually, I think I did the same trick on a piano track here. Yes, I did. Yeah, did the same thing there. So just something to keep in mind is this might be something that you end up using here and there down the road that really makes a big difference in your mix. If you want to learn more about mixing heavy music, heavy rock, and metal, then definitely check out the course I just released for Pro Mix Academy for Warren. It's going to show you how I mix a song completely from scratch. So totally from zero to finished label ready mix. You'll see track by track all the little tricks and tweaks and techniques that I use to get a modern, aggressive, punchy mix that's competitive with the best out there today. So check that out if you want to dive deeper into mixing heavy music. And thanks for watching. Again, I'm Jordan Valeriote. Talk to you later.
Thanks, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed that. Love doing these Fact Fridays and love being able to insert a little information from other great people. Of course, as usual, leave your comments and questions below. If you have any future Fact Friday questions, this is a place to leave it. Eric will scour this and pick you. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. See you all again very soon.